We're at Petra today. All these rocks with, are the caves with carvings on them, or tombs, and just the regular caves that you see around were where they lived. And said they were very wealthy people. They were the ones that built the King's Highway and started the Silk Route trade to China. And they were extremely wealthy people from doing the Silk Route. And it would take 2 to 3 years to make a round trip back to this area. This is a typical dwelling. They said they lived simply in their caves, but they made their tombs very ornate because they had the idea they were going to spend the eternity in those tombs, so that's why they put a lot of time and effort into making their tombs so elegant. They would have heavy spring rains, so they built this dam by the entrance going into the city to collect their water, and they had a tunnel back in there to store their water for the year. It said that people that were here and documented from 200 years ago, there's been 40 feet of silt that's been brought into the city since that time. So they figure when these people were here, it could be 200 feet deeper than what they've excavated so far. They talk about frankincense and myrrh. This is actually myrrh here. And he threw, it's like a rock, but he threw some in the fire to burn it. This is the entrance into the city of Petra. And it was this narrow gorge for protection for the people. It's easy to protect the city. This is their irrigation system. The rain would come down the mountains in the summer, collect in these troughs that they've carved out, and go all the way into the inner city to irrigate their crops and to use it for drinking water. So there used to be an arch. You can see the stones up there. Went around this other side, but an earthquake destroyed that a number of years back. You can see they had clay tile. You can see it here, how they're locked together to bring the water in. Still the original tile system. And the Romans came in at some point and took over the city, and this is the roads that the Romans laid right there. They had these niches all along the corridors here that they had their gods in. And they said the gods are not in here because typically they would take the gods with them. The story of Rebecca, when she stole the god and hid it in her tent. Rachel, that when she stole that god and hid it in her tent. Typically when they traveled, they would take the idols with them. That's why they're not in the niches anymore. The Romans came here and took this city peacefully. And the people that were here doing the silk trade moved north to Syria. And then at that point, the Chinese would come with their silk and carry on the trade by meeting them down there. And after that, the Bedouins, nomads moved in here and still lived in here until 1983 when the government relocated them so they could use this as a tourist attraction. So this was still being inhabited by people, these caves were, until the early 80s. This is a carving that's been eroded away by water, but you can see a guy here at one time. And this was a camel. That's one foot of the camel, that's the other. And up top you can see the hump of the camel. This is called the Treasury. It's really a temple to the gods. It's amazing the detail that's in this thing. It's been eroded for thousands of years with the weather, but the detail and the carvings in this thing is unreal. It's lasted this long. Imagine carving that out of that stone. It's unbelievable. We're at the base of that treasury, and we were talking about the fact that this has been filled in over the years with silt. And here we're at the base, and you can see they've excavated down at the base of this to more rooms underneath. The tour guide said because of tourism, they don't plan to excavate this whole area. He said the camels that are in this area are single hump camels, not from this area originally. So they were brought from China by these people during the silk trade. So that's how these camels that didn't originate here are now in this area. This is the amphitheater they had built, kind of like what the Romans would have built. That's the bleachers going up. Podium type here. More caves on the opposite side over there. It's unreal the amount of work that went into carving all these caves and tombs and stuff out in here. Man, you wonder how long it took them. This was a church at the time. Wow, how high they carved that out. Look at the color on that ceiling. So unique. So these holes in the sides is where we put the poles for their scaffolding in there when they were working. Crazy how flat and smooth these walls are. I mean, they're perfectly flat when you look at the sides of them. Probably walked a half mile or so since the that treasury, that main building when you first come in. You see the villages go way out across the valley over there. You can see caves where all the dwellings are. Big community when all these people were here years ago. Amazing these structures still stand today in here. See, this bluff here is full of caves as well.
You can see it from downstairs.
Yes. typical house of the time. Me and Sandra said it'd actually be kind of nice in there in a rainstorm. Out of the wind, had a fire in there. Not unlike an AT shelter. Up on top now, looking at the amphitheater from above. Donkey is not a fan of the goats for whatever reason.
After leaving Petra, we stopped at a restaurant for those that were hungry and wanted to get something to eat. I was not hungry, and so while Al went in to have lunch, I took my time and browsed through different dress shops. They were kind of fun, not really my style of clothing, but it was really pretty. And then after we left there, we drove through countryside that our guide told us was prime agricultural area. And although the ground looks like nothing would grow, you could tell it had been plowed in areas and was just laying fallow for the off season. He also, and we were aware that it definitely was true because we would randomly see grain bins periodically along the side of the road. And he also told us that Jordan is the largest exporter of the Granny Smith apples to America, which I thought was interesting because I assumed all apples grew in America. And as we got closer to Amman, I started noticing that it was greener. We would see greenhouses, quite a few actually, along the way, and just the landscape had more vegetation growing right until we got up into the city of Amman. And we are going to be staying tonight at the Geneva Hotel in downtown Amman. We are in our hotel room for the night. We went down and had dinner and got back a few minutes ago. We actually got in a little bit earlier to our hotel, so it was nice to have some downtime to rest a little bit instead of getting in so late.
I had a great time at Petra today. There's a number of, we get some younger people, but there's also some older ones too. And there's quite a bit of walking at Petra. So we did 4 hours there, but man, we could have easily spent an entire day there exploring that place. The place is amazing. But yeah, some of the older ones had a hard time walking that distance, which I don't blame them. Just is what it is when you're with a group like this. But yeah, super interesting there. And we're in Amman the night at the motel here. Kind of nice. All these motels have buffets for breakfast, supper, and then lunch. We kind of eat wherever we're at during the day. So it's nice to be able to try all these different foods. Everybody gets a little something different. We have to try off everybody's plates. So it's kind of fun instead of just ordering off a menu and being stuck with something you don't like. So
Yep, that's true. Well, we're gonna soon head to bed and get up at what, 6:30, and then we're supposed to eat and then leave by 8. Leave the hotel by 8.
End up in Tel Aviv tomorrow night.
Yep. So we'll see you in the morning.
Yep. Good night.